Hi, I'm Tom Hakeem, and once again, I'd like to welcome you to Meet the Candidates, an opportunity to meet the people that want to represent us. Some already do, and make some good choices. The most important choice you can make, obviously, is to go and vote when it's time to vote. That's what makes it count. Right now, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Kim Meltzer.
Tom, it's so nice to see you again. You look
Good to
great.
see you,
Thank
Clinton
you
Township Clerk.
and thank you for being here and doing this.
Yeah, it's fun for me. I think there's other things I could be doing 85 and Sunday. Could be playing golf. I could be going swimming. But this is my favorite. So Kim Meltzer, the current clerk of Clinton Township and obviously running for re-election at this point. Kim, for the people that don't know you and don't know, maybe just came into the township, et cetera, tell them a little bit about yourself personally.
Well, me and my husband have been married 37 years already. We've raised 3 adult children, and now we have 2 grandchildren and a third on the way. So we're very proud of that, and we enjoy living in Clinton Township. Clinton Township is really a great place to raise a family, and we've been here, as I said, since 1990. And it's a long time. Yeah, and I've been the clerk for 12 years, and prior to that, I was a state representative, and then prior to that, I served on this board as a part-time trustee. So I've been in politics for about 24 years now, and serving the public in Clinton Township, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I love my job as a clerk, and I didn't love being a state rep, although I loved the opportunity to learn what it was all about. But driving all 2 hours, back and forth every day, that was a lot. Now I only have to drive 6 miles to get to work.
Much better.
Yes, yeah. So I love that, and I'm close to the people, so I get to see what's needed in the community firsthand. I'm not taken out of the community. I'm right here the whole time, and I love that.
So the job of clerk, it's changed dramatically since when you first decided to go ahead and take that kind of position. The challenges we talked about a little earlier, even though you have technology and the good sides of it, there's sides of it that break down. Mm-hmm. We have questions about our elections now, which can come from anywhere, not point any fingers. Everybody has the right to say, I don't think it was counted right or it wasn't fair. First of all, how did you deal with that in the recent elections, and what is in place now, in your opinion, what needs to be in place to just basically make things smooth, which will never be totally, but at least give it a rip?
Yeah, well, with humans, we are all capable of human error, making that error. And I think sometimes, at least in this industry, in the clerking industry, and now with elections, so much scrutiny on there, it's emphasized if there is any type of error or something that goes wrong in elections. And that's, it's not a bad thing to be able to say, all right, how do we make this better? It's important for us to announce and to let the public know mistakes are made in elections. But mistakes are not fraud. And so human error is not fraud. I can only speak for Clinton Township, and I can't speak for the city of Detroit or what happened in the community north of us or any of that. I can only speak as a clerk for Clinton Township, and we have been very blessed to have incredible workers working not only in the office but then also on election day. And we have not gotten any criticisms for the work we've done in the elections. Even the integrity of our elections has never been questioned. We have done a great job in terms of making sure our elections are secure. Even before it was required by the state, I implemented cameras into our ballot boxes, and Clinton Township has 6 ballot boxes, which, again, was way ahead of what any other community or even the state required. And the state now requires for every 1,500 residents, you have to have a ballot box. We had 6 ballot boxes back in 2020. So we had already, and we have a population of over 100,000. So we already exceed that threshold. And we've been doing that under my leadership because I knew it's what the people wanted. They wanted security. They wanted that assurance to know that things were being done right in Clinton Township. They might not have been done right elsewhere, but they were going to be done right here in Clinton Township. So under my leadership, I implemented the ballot boxes to have cameras on each one of them, and they have 4 cameras on each one. And those cameras see people coming, going. When you open the lid and put your ballot in, they can see the face. Now, why is that important? Well, it is because there has been some questions about ballot harvesting, and that we've never had any camera footage to show that took place in Clinton Township. It gives us the ability to go back and look to see if there was anything that happened that shouldn't have. And so that type of leadership, I think, is important. Being able to read or feel the pulse of the public and knowing what it is they want to see so that they know that their tax dollars are being spent the way they want them spent is critical. And I think that's what I accomplished with the elections, not only with the ballot boxes, but our electronic content management system and many of the implementations that we've notified the state about and let them know what we're doing, and now they're implementing on a statewide basis.
So you made an interesting point, and it's, to me, whomever gets elected at this point is going to have new challenges, new people on the board. We're going to have a new supervisor, and yet some of the criticism in the township doesn't go about voting or any individual in particular, but sometimes about the bickering that goes on and the party sides, that how the voting goes. That's the American way. There's no way around it. But what do you see as far as the ability to, especially should you get reelected with new people now, how do you create the bridge to basically make progress instead of it's the whole country. I mean, everybody's angry about something. So how do you see yourself in that role?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge when people have a question or a concern. I don't think you should shut people down. I think you have to let the public express their concerns, and that we as a board have to listen to that and respond to it accordingly. We do have parameters, the legal parameters that we have to live within that the public may or may not understand or know about, but it's our responsibility to let them know that. Working with somebody from a political persuasion that is different than mine really shouldn't come into play, because we really don't. We are not a partisan entity. Even though we have to claim a political party at the local level to run as a candidate, we don't vote on partisan issues. We vote on, trash collection, chipping, roads, but even our road funding, because we don't get it, the roads are a complicated factor, and we don't really have a lot of say on that. But we take on issues like, what is necessary, funding-wise? Are we living within our budget? I also serve on the Police and Fire Pension Board. We have to make sure that we're funding our retirees. Those brave men and women that served us and now are retired were promised a specific wage or our funding, our retirement money, and we have to make sure that we can provide that for them. That is a huge balancing act to manage. So those are the kinds of things that we should be focusing on. Those are not Republican or Democrat issues. Those are people issues, and that's what we vote on at the local level. And I really don't like the partisan part of this, and when it's attempted to be brought into a local discussion, I try to shut it down right away, or not acknowledge, or give it, give it any acknowledgement.
Having been around, and as you say, you have a good background, things that you feel comfortable and proud that you've been able to accomplish in your position and as part of elected officials. There's got to be disappointments and things that you feel should or would or could be done to improve things. And if you're reelected and you challenge that again, what are some of those things that you feel that maybe didn't get done or for whatever reason that we still need to do to make it a better township?
Definitely the road funding, which even like I just said, is not something we have the ability to control, but we do have a voice. And we have been expressing that concern about Public Act 51, the distribution of funding that goes from the state goes to the state from the locals doesn't come back in the amount that we send. So we have been arguing and fighting, and I know the governor that said we're going to fix the damn roads. Well, that didn't really. That might have happened at a higher level, interstate,
Right.
But it's not translating down to the local. And so we want to maintain that relationship with Lansing, and we it seems to be falling on deaf ears because we had the opportunity with this governor to say, look, you said you gave us a promise, you said you were going to fix the roads, but it's not happening at the local level, and that Public Act 51, that distribution of funding has to be addressed. It has to be addressed at the state level, and it should be. I mean, the governor and her party own three legs of the stool. They could have made that distribution change so that we got the funding that we deserve. And now we, as a local board, hear almost every board meeting how dissatisfied the public is with the road funding, and that we need to take care of that. And we're educating the public and saying, we are really sorry, but we don't govern the roads here in Clinton Township, but we are speaking out against it. I would say that has been a problem for Clinton Township and will continue to be one until we get the kind of leadership at the state level to address the issue of funding.
The seems interesting because I, like everybody else, seem to either run in or avoid an orange barrel no matter where I go, and maybe I'm not as astute as far as, noticing or recognizing that the local roads, which we always think need help, I guess you just get excited because when you're on I-75 and it's finally smooth, you feel like everything's getting done. But I do think, I agree, I hear the same thing. I say myself that on a local level, it's hard. And I think the confusion comes from the voters and the people who think that basically the township itself is responsible to take care of all our roads and don't realize that the funding has to come from the other sources.
Yeah. Well, we as a township, we are the largest township in the state of Michigan with a population exceeding 100,000 residents. For that alone, we really should be a city. But it has come to the public, I think at least twice, if not three times, by a previous vote, and it was turned down by the electorate, to change Clinton Township to a city. If we were a city, we could manage our own funding, and there would be an additional funding source that might come in from the state and from other resources. However, when property values decline like they did, starting to if we were to change to a city now, I'm not sure if those funding levels are back up to the level that they were before the recession, but it would have been a very hard accomplishment to take over the road funding at that point. But I think we're almost back to that funding level. I don't know if there's a will of the people, but a ballot initiative would have to be introduced, and if the people want to change Clinton Township from a township to a city so that we can manage our own roads, that's the only way we could do it, is if they changed our charter.
Do you feel that's something we should do in the township?
There's good and bad to it. I think, like I said, if we were a city, we would have more funding in which to address those subdivision roads. They wouldn't be created as a SAD, which is a special assessment district. But when you look at a special assessment district, what we have in the township, it is a more fair system because it it means that the people that are using that road are the ones paying for it, right?
Right.
So, like you just mentioned, so I-75. There was a time when I used I-75 a lot when I was a state representative. Now I hardly ever use 75. Yeah, I'm paying for that road, correct? However, here locally, I may never use some of the subdivision roads except during campaign season when I'm knocking on people's doors. But as a rule, I'm not going into those subdivisions on a daily basis like someone that would live there. And so should I be paying for those roads, to fund those roads, those repairs? I don't have an objection any more than I have an objection to paying for services that we offer that I don't necessarily use. Now that my kids are no longer in school, I don't use the schools, but I want to support the schools because a strong school system means you have a strong community. So I see the value of supporting things that I may not directly use. So to answer your question, whether it's a city or a township, the only advantage of us being a city is that we would be able to control our roads. If the people want to see that happen, they'll have to create a ballot initiative, which nowadays a ballot initiative costs about $1 million to get on the ballot, and then there's no guarantee of a success of whether or not it'll be approved. But it's going to be up to the people to make that decision.
So, in 2,000 words or less, why don't you tell the people watching and the citizens of Clinton Township why should they vote for Kim Meltzer to retain her position as clerk of our township?
Well, I love my job as the clerk. I've served for 12 years, and I've served with integrity and accountability. I will continue to make that a priority in the office. I always tell my staff, we are a customer service counter, and we've implemented so many different things that have benefited the community as a whole. Our electronic content management system not only helps the internal workings of between our departments, taking down those silos and not making duplication of effort. That all costs money, and it doesn't communicate well. So I've brought that down by implementing an electronic content management system called Laserfiche, where now we're not getting up from our chairs and cutting and pasting documents to move, to the internal mailing system. We all do it electronically. That happened under my leadership, and it took many years to make that happen, because not only did I have to create the position, I had to research the position. I had to figure out what was needed, what type of employee would we need, what would the cost be for that. I had to write the job description. I had to then get a political board, to agree to it, and I did. I was able to do that successfully. All 7 board members approved that, so I'm very grateful for that. I was grateful that we were able to introduce other technologies that have made it much easier and made it transparent for the public as well as with the workers.
Right.
When the public wants documentation, it's easier access for us to retrieve that for them. Now we don't have to wait to go to the warehouse to pick up certain documents. They're fully contained in our electronic content management system. Now, there are some drafting documents that are very large that may have to be retrieved from the warehouse, but on a daily basis, we do a lot. I've implemented and expanded on our passport processing, which is a revenue maker for the township. With these new technologies that streamlined more of the work, now my staff is capable to have the time to service in this area. It's not a statutory duty, but it is one that brings in revenue and serves the public. The public wants to travel, and having that access in their own backyard to make that happen is a great service. So we've done that. And then, of course, our elections, as I stated earlier, we have not had any negative ink about how we conduct our elections. We have done it with integrity and transparency and efficiencies, and I'll continue to do that. And that's the very reasons why you want somebody that is capable, experienced, knowledgeable about the execution of elections and running the clerk's office to be reelected for the position.
Well, first of all, as I've said, on behalf of people of the township, myself, CTTV. That's my roots here. I think that you deserve, as all the candidates do, credit for the fact that you even are making the effort to represent people in a very challenging time that we live in, and the unknown that's in front of us. So with that, Kim Meltzer, current clerk at Clinton Township, and my friend, I'd like to say thank you for spending a few minutes again, and I wish you the best in your election.
And thank you so very much. I appreciate your commitment to our community, Tom. You've done a phenomenal job, and I appreciate that. I know you're going to vote on Election Day, and I just want to
have
tell
to
the
vote.
public, don't forget to vote.
Vote. So there you hear it. For Meet the Candidates, this is Tom Hakeem. Thank you for looking in. And again, as Kim said, what's important is to vote.